by some very congenial guests and extremely meaningful conversations. Today, we've been extremely fortunate to have two women, absolute powerhouses, and we could not have asked for a better set of guests to end this season. Please welcome Deena Vadiya of Jyoti Sagar Associates, partner, of course, based out of Bombay. And we have Menaka Guruswamy, senior advocate from the Supreme Court. She's based out of Delhi. Deena, Menaka, hi. Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here. It means a lot.
Thanks for having us, I guess.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
Super. Over to Vikas. Vikas, we can start off with our first segment.
Thanks, Tanisha. Hi, Dina. Hi, Menaka. Welcome to the finale of Unsuited Series 3. We'll go straight to the questions. Can you both walk us through the time when you started off your careers within the law and some of the invaluable lessons you learned from your mentors? Dina, it'd be nice for you to narrate your kind of story around how you figured out that the law was for you, how you went through the phase of being a generalist lawyer first and learning by osmosis, and how you saw a senior partner living life to the fullest while bringing exceptional skill and focus to his work. And then Menaka will go on to you after that, and you talking about how you fell in love with the law while studying it, your junior days of a short Desai, and how he treated your mind equal to his own, and how you shadowed seniors and were taught to focus on having a good time while doing something as serious as the law, not something we hear often.
Right. So thank you, Vikas, and hi, Tanisha and everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So starting out, I mean, nobody in my family is a lawyer. So I had nothing to look to, understand, no clue. And, while doing my BCom, it was the old days, there were none of these 5-year law colleges. So you had to do a first degree. And one of the papers in our intermediate year was commercial law. And as things stood out, I topped the university in that paper. And, I was told this by my 3 professors, who included Justice Wadia, who then later went on to become the Chief Justice, but he was then still a practicing lawyer. And I think one of them suggested that, this is something you might be good at. Why don't you consider? So from then, it was like, went to government law, sat sort of on the back benches really, and, just had a good time, did enough to pass. But I then signed my articles with Crawford Bailey, which was then, the leading commercial law firm in Bombay. There were just a handful, 3 or 4, and Crawford Bailey really had the cream of the corporate clients and the cream of the work. And I was very fortunate to be articled to a very fun-loving senior who unfortunately has passed on, Mr. Engineer. And he, was just great fun. And it sort of gave me the thing that it doesn't have to be super serious. He did a very dry area of law, which was customs and excise. And I landed up doing a lot of that eventually also. But he made it fun. It was like he took us to movies. We went to see hockey matches, and he did not bat an eyelid if we just, did the royal bunk and whatever, so as long as you did your work. So I and I had a very nice bunch of young lawyers with me who, we interacted and we went out and we, got up to a few pranks here and there and stuff like that. But so that really sort of, got me that, yeah, maybe this is something, I could do. And then I went kind of, I took it to the, the next logical level, solicitors exams, then went and did a master's in England with funnily no subjects except for administrative law that were of any use to me whatsoever in my later career. And then joined another old firm called Little & Co, which was a little bit more conservative, very few women there. I think I kind of shook it up a bit, nobody, everyone wore saris. So I said, like, I'm not having any of this, I'm going to. It took me 10 years later to get into the trousers, that too starting with Saturdays. So that was, little bit of shake up. But, and there also I had a very, very kind and very wonderful mentor, Madara Mehta, who really took you under his wing, and it was none of this go and give me this right of opinion. It was, come sit with me, we'll do this together, So you also learned the thought process, what you did, you got all the books, you did the research. So it was very wonderful. I was very lucky. I had very, like I said, fun-loving, very kind mentors, and that sort of allowed me to kind of progress, and which also taught me that yes, you can be yourself. You don't have to be sitting there and putting your head in the books and papers, and that there were other things also to enjoy, the law itself, but there were things about the law and linked to the law that you could also enjoy. And, there was great fun in the law itself.
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective, and one we don't hear often, and especially in today's generation, you don't hear that kind of talk about, especially the youngsters, having fun while practicing the law. It's normally a much more intense environment now. But Menaka, over to you, because you also, when we were doing our prep run, mentioned you enjoy doing the law. It's a lot of fun, even though you've also tackled some very serious kind of subjects over your career. So just talk us, through your kind of journey as well.
Well, firstly, thanks to UNSUITed for having me. And it's a real privilege, to be in conversation with, an extraordinary lawyer like Deena Vadiya. I think, Dina has blazed the trail and has made it possible for so many of us to imagine careers in the law, So I think what she's saying here about her journey starting is hugely important, because the start of her journey meant in some ways the start of journeys like mine, because I suspect, we are not the norm in many ways when we started out. So thanks for having me. I completely agree with Dina. So much of the practice of law and being a lawyer for me is just a joyous thing. It's a lot of work, but it's hugely, hugely enjoyable. It's hugely fun. And it is intertwined with exactly the lessons that Dina's mentors gave her, that life is larger. It is important to have a life outside of the law. And the interests you have in your life outside will actually make you probably better lawyers, because you will have these rich experiences to bring into a negotiation room or courtroom. You will have stories to tell. You will have jokes to crack. You will have books and literature to fall back on. The most crucial decision I made as a lawyer was when I was 19 years old. I was a law student in Bangalore from a law school, which in my first year hadn't graduated any batches. So this was a real punt, right? My parents are not lawyers. They're fabulous, but they're not lawyers. And the most crucial decision I made was I decided to go intern with great trepidation, the then Attorney General of India, Ashok Desai. It was singularly the most definitive thing I had done in my life. And what I loved then, and I still remember what it felt like, what I loved then is I loved that it was a cerebral office. He didn't move into the Attorney General's official accommodations. He lived in his home. He worked out of his basement office. And the walls around were full of books constitutional law and contracts, but also poetry and also literature. I'd grown up in a home of a lot of books and a lot of music. That was also what I went into when I went into Ashok Desai's chamber. And at the end of that month, I remember kind of mustering up the courage going up to him at the end of the day. It was my last day of the internship, saying, sir, I graduate in a year. Can I come back to join your office? And he said to me, yeah, sure, but on one condition, you need to call me Ashok. There is no hierarchy here. And I said then, at the age of 19, what I kept saying till I was 45, yes, sir, Ashok bhai, I will call you Ashok. Yes, sir. Ashok Desai passed away early into the lockdown last year in March. I was planning to go to Bombay for a matter, actually, and we'd made plans, I was coming to argue a case in Bombay at the NCLT, and we'd made plans to catch up, hopefully get breakfast or lunch. And he was in Bombay at that time. So this was, 2 months before I knew I was coming. I was super excited. I'd see my senior, and then, I'd go and argue this case. And I guess, it was not to be. But really, so much of the joy I find is the joy I learned from him, to have that joy for life, to have that joy for books, knowledge, and to have a lifelong quest for knowledge, which is what the law enables for me. You started this by saying, he treated me as if my mind was equal to his. What was remarkable about that is my mind is not equal to his. His was far ahead of mine, far superior. But he made each of his juniors feel like, we're special. We're very special. And we befit, being there, and we deserve to be taken seriously. And I realized that because we had a memorial for him, on the 1-year anniversary, and there were these juniors and really remarkable lawyers. Dina will know some of them from the Bombay Bar, each of whom had been made to feel special by him. So yeah, that's where I get my love for the law from.
It's a very beautiful message, actually, and the way you just portrayed that relationship, because like I said, it's very fortunate you managed to get someone so young and someone inspiring, because it's helped shape your career in a very positive way.
So I have a question here. It looks like you both, both Deena and Menaka, in your respective journeys early on, I think, were probably taught the importance of certain qualities, such as introspection, integrity, humility, and humor, something that you both sort of really bring to the table and, between yourselves also really connected over, right? Could you maybe, Menaka, tell us a little bit about the importance of introspection and humor? And then we'll hear from Deena on the importance of sort of integrity and humor. It'll be nice to just, hear your thoughts on how these attributes help us in our professional sort of, not just to grow, but also sort of hold us in good stead, right? While we're doing what we're doing.
You want me to go first? So I think that one of the most interesting things about being a human being, if you will, right, is that we as human beings have the capacity to introspect. And I don't want to call it an old-fashioned trait, but it's something that struck me, even if you read about the founders of this country, right, whether it's Patel or Nehru or Gandhi, or, and they all happen to be lawyers, right? They all happen to be lawyers. What really struck me was that each of them was remarkably introspective. There was doubt. There was a conversation with self. If you read their letters, you'll see that. And I think that it is actually a very important trait to bring to our own lives, professional and personal, to think through things, to understand, to ask yourself, well, is there another way of approaching this? Perhaps I was wrong, perhaps I'm right. Not to kind of beat yourself up about a bad hearing, never to second guess yourself, but to kind of think about it dispassionately, creatively, if you will, to see how would I approach this at a different time. I think it's one of the most interesting things about being a lawyer, because every new case, every new area makes you confront not just new information and not just new statutes, but also, well, how would you tell the story in a courtroom? I mean, that's the heart of it, whether we are commercial lawyers, we are litigators, we are also at the heart of it storytellers. We are conveying a client's perspective, a solicitor's perspective, and we're trying to do so in a way that it is received. It's not a coincidence that we're called advocates. We advocate. So I think that that to me is an important quality. And I think humor, I mean, for your viewers, and I know Dina and I have talked about this, we both, I think, love laughter. And I just find that humor is so very, very important, especially if you're in a stressful occupation, to be able to laugh it off, whether it's in a courtroom or whether it's in a very tense client meeting. I think that, it is important because it helps you diffuse things, but it also brings you clarity. And I saw my senior deploying humor so effectively. I think the twinkle in your eyes is often a very, very potent instrument, not just to get through life, but also get through that day in court. So I'll stop there.
Well said. Thank you. That's a great share, Menaka. Dina, over to you. And maybe you want to focus a little bit on attributes that are important to you. Humor, of course, being one of them.
So for me, it's funny, when we did a little pre-thing, how much Menaka and I really think quite alike.
Yeah.
And the same attributes and the same strengths and, what you take from the law and, is remarkably similar. I would say that, one of the key things, that we need to have, apart from your learning and your ability to, deal with clients, is just basically, we don't make anything, right? We don't sell in that sense anything. We sell a service in a way that we are mine. And therefore, all you have really is your reputation. And reputation is everything in this profession, whether you are trusted, whether you can be relied upon. Therefore, at the heart of it lies sort of, integrity. That without that, I don't think really you will go far in this profession or in any profession or, sphere of life. And, sometimes as lawyers, people don't come to us, because they come to us when they need a solution or they're in some difficulty. They don't want to be, so really, and sometimes you are asked whether a particular solution can be viable. And it's sometimes, not quite so, but you must, be able to, and the courage to stand up and say that, look, that's not possible, or and I certainly cannot do it, or will not do it, or will not give you something. That when it's better to walk away in such situations than compromise. So I think, sometimes, it leads into your, you need to hold firm to your values. And that also, sort of linking into that is also, I would say, a certain way that you treat, other people also with integrity, with compassion, with an understanding, whether they be your colleagues or your juniors or, and most importantly, your clients. So that, as I said, that, reputation is everything. And that's something that, I value most is integrity. Of course, as Menaka says, humor. The lawyers are full of ridiculous characters, who lend themselves every day. I mean, bar libraries, as Menaka will say, and I spent a fair amount of time in my earlier years, before liberalization, when litigation was really the only game in town. Yeah. In bar libraries and bar rooms. And it was like a den of gossip. The guys are unbelievable. They say women gossip. We have nothing on them. But it is fun. And, there'd be bar library meetings where they would be looking for an increase of $5, And the amount of guys that would get up and oppose this vehemently, 5 rupees. I mean, and then you'd ask somebody and say, who's this guy? The fellow would say, broker. You'd say, what do you mean broker? And somebody else, who's that broker? It was the days of Harshad Mehta at his peak, in the Bombay stock market at his peak, and everybody's second profession in the bar room was, dealing in shares. So, you just have characters everywhere, so it lends itself to that. And, as I said that, we don't have to be so serious, all the time. Of course, you have to be conscientious in your work, do it well. The client has to be satisfied, but you don't need to be a dour, serious person, You must have, a sense of fun, a sense of lightness. And I think the quality of, being able to lighten a mood or lighten a room is not to be scoffed at. It breaks barriers, it eases tensions. I used to have, for many years, the Pink Panther theme as my ringtone. Yeah, and even now it's it's something not unusual, but it used to sort of it made people smile. So you would then get into a little side conversation, and all that sort of heavy stuff would be forgotten for a few minutes, and then you'd move on. But so humor is important. It's just life's too short.
Thank you for saying that, Deena and Menaka. It is something that the community at large really needs to learn, maybe from the both of you and those who think like you, because I know for a fact that when we start out as interns, we're consistently told, put your head down, pretend to work. If you've got no work, look serious. These are the kind of diktats that are constantly sort of rolled out, right? I remember there was a senior associate who once said, be a Parle-G biscuit, don't be whipped cream. Now, what does that mean? What that senior associate meant is, if you're in a cup of chai, go right down to the bottom and look like sunken and serious. Don't be light and floozy like whipped cream. And it was possibly the worst analogy ever, but it is so descriptive, to understand that keep humor out, right? Keep humor out. So thanks both of you for saying that, because I think you've got the next question for them. So please.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Anisha was saying, because the kind of interpretation or impression we have of the law is more from, a few good men or Sunny Deol kind of courtroom battles. But to hear you talking about, bringing humor in, Pink Panther, normally we would probably think Godfather brings you, not Pink Panther. So it's great that, like you're right, because we know that it's a serious profession, and lawyers are known to just take themselves really seriously. So for you to look at, we can have fun and yet still be serious about our work and be lifelong learners, and not compromise the quality of what we're doing. But why do we have to be so serious about it? So just a quick one for the next question. So I think Deena kind of mentioned her Pink Panther theme tune is one of her tips, tricks for lightening the mood. Menaka, do you have one of those?
Yeah, I usually crack a joke when I, meet, anyone really for the first time. And there is, not at the person, note to young people. Do not crack a joke about someone you met for the first time. Crack a joke about yourself or the weather or whatever. So I really do. But, I think part of it is, it's just, and I think Deena will agree with this, it's a profession where we work very hard, right? It's a hardworking profession. But you also just meet super interesting people. It's not that tough to have a good time because the people you meet are just really, really interesting. And I think, in the earlier chat that we had, I said this, and I just kind of want to reiterate it. Like, there are just interesting stories you get to engage as a lawyer. There are new areas where the human race will interact with legislation, which may be constitutional or unconstitutional, but it's certainly going to make your world turn around. I mean, look at law and technology today. Look at the new digital media rules, OTT platform rules, there are data privacy bill, all of this is happening in this month, right? So you are being asked as lawyers to reimagine the interface of the human footprint with legislation. There are few occupations, maybe I'm just too, sunk into mine. There are a few occupations that throw interesting stories and force you to confront new footprints of the state with such regularity, and force you to expand your mind with such regularity than the law does. Whatever facet, whether you are a solicitor, a counsel, a partner at a big firm, a partner at a small firm, whatever aspect of the law you choose to engage with, you are forced to encounter these changes of our way of life. And I think that's really, it's the best icebreaker, because every human being, trust me on this, has an interesting story. Every human being. And that's the best icebreaker, there can be.
I just love the way that you describe the law, full of stories and interesting people, and it's such a great perspective because, again, the kind of impression you get, especially the young lawyers that are moving into M&A, corporate, adversarial law, it's much more serious. But, the fact that you can say, look, you're always looking for, there's an interesting story in every case you're dealing with. So I think that's a beautiful way of, again, looking at this as a career and as a subject. Just, I think the last question we'll move ahead of what you were saying then, Menaka, about, we've got data privacy issues coming up, there's IP issues, there's tech. So what do you think the future of law is looking like, especially in a kind of post-pandemic world?
Yeah. No, I think it's a very good question. And I'm sure Dina confronts this right now, but the most significant change in our way of life, not just as lawyers, but any occupation today, is how digital our personality has become, how digital our occupation has become. The interface of law and technology. In many commercial law firms in the US, for instance, software and algorithms are doing the job of young associates. We are in virtual court today, not in physical court. We have to interpret digital media guidelines. We have to think through the fact that we don't really have a data privacy law yet. It's going to be debated next week. But we do have to think about, well, where does attorney-client privilege lie in a Zoom call? We do have to think about these things. Today, our lives are governed more and more by algorithms, by likes online than ever before. And technology is shaping and reshaping how we practice law, whether it's commercial law or whether it's otherwise in a courtroom. Yesterday, I think the Chief Justice spoke about, sort of live telecast of proceedings in the Supreme Court. Yeah, it's huge. If that happens, it will change the face of courtrooms because the public will be able to see the business of litigation, the business of adjudication, and the business of advocacy. And the public and the media will have much to say about it, no doubt. So India and the Indian Supreme Court decides, huge issues of importance, huge issues that shape the way we get to live our life. And that decision making will be up and available to all citizens. And it's wonderful if that happens. It's really, really wonderful if that happens. You know, I tune in the Gujarat High Court's Chief Justice live telecasts his courtroom. So I love tuning in every once in a while, and I'll see these very nicely dressed lawyers, very well prepared, and you kind of feel like, wow, this is great, you know. So I think in the next year, not that this hasn't happened in the last year, but in the next year, you will see a complete change in very deep, substantive ways in the way at least litigation is going to play out, and in the way we give advice and how we interact with clients, with solicitors, with judges. All of this is going to be hugely reshaped. It has already been reshaped by technology and by the virtual world.
Super thoughts there. Deena, over to you. I mean, obviously you're from, you know, a slightly different perspective. You've seen how tech is playing out in the law firm, from a law firm point of view. So same kind of question, you know, what do you think the future of practicing law is looking like in this post-pandemic?
Thank you. Yeah, I think Menaka is, you know, so articulate. She's just so wonderfully articulate. It's so wonderful to hear her. I think, you know, we knew even before the pandemic, quite frankly, that, you know, tech was going to be a very, very large part of our lives. We already started seeing it in some of these programs that we've been putting in to help with diligence and things like, you know, which is a kind of an AI stuff. But the pandemic has, of course, you know, accelerated it, and I think has made everybody far more comfortable with it. I think the younger lot is already very comfortable with technology, and the older lot, I mean, I personally, I consider myself reasonably tech savvy. So even in the older lot, but, you know, not quite that category. But I think the rest have had to learn, and learn very quickly. And, you know, the courtroom side has been wonderful. I don't do litigation as such anymore. I have colleagues in other cities who handle matters, but it's been wonderful to tune in and attend these hearings in all over the country. I think one wonderful consequence of live streaming is you'll get a whole different cast of character actors playing to the gallery. You know? I'm sure Menaka will tell you there are lots of guys in court who, after they think they made some wonderful point, and turn around to see if it has been appreciated. You know? we've all met lots of counsel like that, you know, pompous gets half of them, but anyway. But so yes, so tech is going to be at the heart of everything, and even the new. All the businesses are going to be, you know, going to have tech at its very heart. So whether you talk about pharma, you talk about manufacturing, anything, you know, it's all banking. I'm in finance. Everything is going to have tech at its heart. So it will be the driver. You know, it's like it sits at the center of all. If you look at a diagram, it just will be the connector. And it will throw up its own challenges because, you know, we know that, you know, laws, it's moving so fast that our law and regulation is not, you know, will struggle to catch up with it. You know, and I was sort of listening to somebody the other day, you know, on things on regulations and stuff like that. I think we have to have our regulations that will be enabling, that will enable taking into account the very rapid challenge, you know, changes that are going to happen. Otherwise, you will just be, you know, hitting barriers, and people, and you know how, you know, things are legislated here. We don't follow, sadly, in most cases, a principles-based approach. We go for a rules-based approach. So you will get some bureaucrat who will tell you, show me where it is written, and this time is too fast for that, so I think it will sort of change the way we need to think about regulations. And I think, young lawyers who are, also at the forefront of some of these niche areas will also, play a very important part in, in helping shape that. We really, we need to be, because, the same old law is not going to cut it. I tell young people and our younger colleagues that you have to find a differentiator. Today, all of us, at least I grew up in a stage of very general practice. Okay, and I think it's wonderful. And I think it's something that all law students must do a stint of litigation at some point, It just gives you a different perspective. But that's not going to cut it. You need to value add, you need to show that you bring something different. There's so many lawyers out there today, it's so competitive. So, the way to, and then there's so much scope actually, there are so many sectors, there are sunrise sectors, there are sort of old economy being, looked at again, tech enabled. There's exciting stuff happening. And as, Menaka says, that, one of the greatest things about law is that basically it holds your interest.
Yeah.
There's something new all the time. You're not in that same rut. If you were in a particular, corporate or dealing with a particular product or a set of products, you see everything. You see all types of industry. You see all shades of people. You get, different, different problems, and, you never thought of something, and, somebody will give you it's just the interaction with people, which is, which I hope, is not going to be replaced by too much tech, because, Zoom calls and all are fine, but you actually feed off, your colleagues, clients, sitting around a table. We've done this for this time. This great technology, has been wonderful. It happened, let us say, it's a bad thing to happen, but it happened when, to some extent, the world was technologically prepared, and, it did not, we could get on with, our lives and doing, our work. So it is going to be, at the heart of everything, and very much here to stay, and, but it's great. You can make it your friend. It doesn't have to be your enemy. You can make it your friend.
Yeah, I think great points by both you, Dina, and Menaka. And also remembering, while technology is moving towards the heart of what we do, it shouldn't replace people's hearts at the end of the day, because, connecting face to face, physically, having those
absolutely
serendipity comes from, when you're actually able to just chat to someone, like Menaka says, you crack a joke and then something comes out of that. So I think you're right that we shouldn't just devolve everything to technology once we get back to a more open environment. So I think great thoughts across all the questions we've asked. It's been great running this first part of the session. We're now going to move over to the bit we call the interrogation. And if it's getting too serious, Menaka, please don't crack any jokes. And Dina, don't put your ringtone on. All right. Anisha, over to you.
Thanks, Vikas. Okay. Thank you, Dina. Thank you, Menaka. This was good. But I'm actually personally looking forward to the interrogation. We're encouraging you to be spontaneous. We're encouraging you to bring the humor we spoke of all throughout, and just have fun with these questions. So are we ready?
Yeah.
So we'll start with you, Dina, and then the same set of questions we'll switch to you, Menaka. All right. So we'll start with you, Dina. Your first question: what will instantly put a smile on your face?
Seeing a tiger.
Sorry?
Seeing a tiger.
Seeing a tiger.
Lovely.
Oh, okay. Your second question, Dina: if there is one quality you could throw around like confetti what would it be?
My quality or somebody else's?
A generic quality that you think the world probably needs more of. So you're just going to be sprinkling it generously.
Laughter. Laughter.
After. How nice. Okay. What is your favorite family recipe?
I can't cook to save my life.
That's okay. But is there
Cook is also there.
is there maybe a particular food item that the family you've kind of passed on historically that
I can't cook. My mother couldn't cook to save her life either. So I don't think there's anything really.
we'll change the question a bit in your case.
Okay.
So tell us what, like, if you had to go, say, pick one food item, okay, to eat for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
Oh God.
Tough one.
Dina's feeling the pressure.
Really? I suppose some kind of eggs, I guess. You can do lots with them, but
Yeah.
Parsis love eggs, allegedly, but yeah.
Okay, super. Your next question. What 3 items would you take with you if you were to go off on an island for a month?
A wind-up radio,
Okay.
because there'd be no electricity. A fat book.
Okay.
And I don't really know. I mean, I guess something that could amuse you, like a Rubik cube or something, which
Nice.
I've never ever tried to crack. I've never spent enough time, but no electricity, so no gizmos.
Fair. All right. Next question. If you were a ruler of your own country, what would be the first law you would introduce in this imaginary country?
Oh dear. First law. Abolish caste, I don't know.
Nice. All right. Your next question. How would your 10-year-old self react to what you do now?
You must be crazy, or no way. Yeah.
Absolute disbelief.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. An activity that can instantly calm you down.
An activity.
Yes.
I guess reading a good book. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the last thing you do at night before going to bed?
I read.
You read. Okay. Lovely. Well done. We're now moving to Menaka, and then we'll come back to you with the next set of questions. Menaka, are you ready?
Yeah. I feel it's a bit unfair because actually, if Dina always goes first, then I always have a little more time to decide. Yeah.
No, we'll switch. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what will instantly put a smile on your face, Menaka?
2 tigers would be great.
Okay.
I mean, I have to say, I was so taken in by the tigers behind as a kid, and even now, my dad and I love to go see tiger. And I think it's the one thing he misses the most now in the pandemic. So, yeah.
All right. If there was one quality you could throw around like confetti, what is it that you throw around?
Laughter one, but I think integrity, and something that Dina spoke about, integrity.
Okay.
All around. Yeah.
Super. What is your favorite family recipe? Do you have one?
I can't cook. My mom can't cook. I want to just tell you this. My dad is the cook in the family.
So tell us what he makes well.
Sorry?
Something that he makes
so
well.
he great biryani. Like just great. Yeah. And with tomato cut, which is a Hyderabadi, thing. So you have biryani and you have tomato cut.
Oh, yum. Okay, nice. All right. So you're off to an island for a month. What are the 3 items you're taking with you?
I think a fat book. Hopefully Dina will be on a neighboring island, so then we'll be able to like swap these fat books, on a raft. A fat book, a volleyball, I think is more durable than a basketball. I love radio. I didn't think of the wind up bit, but I am a radio fan. I listen to the radio every single day. So I don't know, this island, does it have good connectivity for the radio?
It does, it does.
And I just had one other question, since we're going to be stuck on this island. Would Zomato be delivering at this island or not?
Absolutely. Whatever you want.
That's fine. No issues. No issues. No issues at all. We can survive.
Okay, lovely. All right, your next question.
That might just help their IPO there. Like we've now got
Yes, an oversubscribed IPO, might I add.
Yeah.
Even those of us on different islands with our fat books want in on that IPO.
All right. If you were a ruler of your country, what is the first law you would introduce?
Real, actual universal healthcare, like that people can really access, with public hospitals all over the country, including in parts of this country where there are really no public hospitals, especially in this time of COVID, but just access to health.
Okay, super. How would your 10-year-old self react to what you do now?
My 10-year-old self mostly hung out with my Labrador called Tora, and my 10-year-old self would say, dude, really?
Again, absolute disbelief.
Yeah, like really?
Okay. What activity instantly calms you down, Menaka?
Actually, yoga, stretching, it really does. Yeah.
Super. And what is the last thing you do before going to bed at night?
Also read.
Read.
I'm sure Dina also, I've just got multiple books next to my bed.
Super. Vikas, over to you. You can start with Menaka now if you like.
I will do. Actually, both of you, Menaka, what are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading a book called Amazon Unbound about Jeff Bezos, and a fabulous book on artificial intelligence called Alignment. Superb, just superb. Yeah.
And Dina?
I'm not reading any actual books at the moment, but I read a lot of current affairs. So I subscribe to a lot of periodicals. So I read the New Yorker, the Atlantic, the Spectator, the UK papers, our papers. I read newspapers at night. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
So I catch up on all that. So I read a lot of current affairs and a bit of interest now in history and politics. Just, so that's my reading.
Okay, super. Right. Menaka, over to you. And then Dina's going to listen in on this section. At a party, where can someone find you?
Near the bar, of course, or in front of the bar.
Right. She's a very serious lawyer.
And very close to the appetizers, which are being moved around. So I've immediately made eye contact with the servers. I've cracked a joke, so they instantly like me, and everyone else is ignoring them. So there's food, and I'm close to the bar.
Right, center of the party.
Yeah.
What song would you say best sums you up?
Ooh. Oh my. There's a Bobby McFerrin song which he put together a long time ago called Don't Worry, Be Happy. It's my generation, because not yours. You're way younger. It used to be a thing. But I'm also the kind of Pink Floyd generation, The Wall, and Shine On You plays Diamond. Yeah. So
super.
I don't know if any of it sums me up, but this is the music in my head.
Yeah. If you had to describe yourself as an animal,
Ooh.
we have the answer already. Which one would it be and why?
Oh my. So I think a Labrador, really. You know, they eat a lot. They're fun. You know, they love to swim, and they're just very friendly.
Okay. Right. And what's your favorite quote from either a TV show, movie, or book?
You know, I actually follow, like, so I don't know if it's I'm not sure that, you know, I could think of something from a TV show, movie, or book, but I follow a little app which is like like this white dude in Colorado teaches yoga. Like, it's one of the apps I follow. It's like a power yoga thing. It was very funny because he recently said, you know, live long and twist. And I loved it, right? Because it's a spoof on Live Long and Prosper, which is what Spock says in Star Trek, which also dates me. So I love it because live long and twist is a great life philosophy, right? It's not just about exercise, but, you know, when you're in these situations and you just want to kind of like twist a little bit and figure out a way. So I love that.
Super. Tell us about a practical joke you pulled off really well.
Wow, that's a tough one.
You're taking notes, I can see that.
Yeah, you know, that's a really hard one. I'm trying to think of any practical joke that I pulled off really well. Usually I don't pull them off really well because because my partner is super smart and figures this out like well in advance. So like I have just no skill set at being able to pull off a practical joke with any degree of adeptness. So I think I will fail on that. If we were doing Karan Johar, like Coffee with Karan, the hamper, Dina would get the hamper. At this point, this is a fail.
Or a practical joke you thought this is going to be great, but didn't pull it off.
This is going to be great. You know, for the longest, like when I was much younger, for the longest time, I would, when I was in college, I would answer my phone and pretend I was a Chinese takeaway restaurant. And, you know, a lot of my friends would fall for it. And so I must have been like 21, 22. And so I answered the phone saying, whatever, you know, Chinese takeaway restaurant. And, you know, got all of it, including, sorry, I mean, I apologize for this. I see wisdom now, but including with the Chinese accent and all that stuff. I have this like Chinese person persona, which, you know, I also have an English person persona. And I do these accents, like sometimes the Chinese person talks to the English person, you know, and this happens simultaneously. And, you know, I'm very lucky that I, you know, bought all of this out after 10 years of being in a relationship and not in year one, because I don't know how it would have panned out. So anyway, so one day I was in college and I answered the phone, and I'm not going to do it on your show because I've been told that this is not how you can be an advocate.
We do. No, we love this stuff. I think you should.
I really, really shouldn't.
Should we order something?
And so I answered the phone saying, so-and-so, you know, blah, 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 in this Chinese accent, you know, Chinese takeaway, may I help you? You know, we have free wontons with every delivery today above the, you know, above like whatever, 15 pounds. I was in college in the UK. And on the other end, the voice said, yes, this is, you know, it's so-and-so from Harvard Law School. And I was just trying to reach, you know, Menaka Guruswamy because we have an offer for admission for her. But really, I got the wrong number. And I was like, no, it's me. And so this lady on the other end, who is now, as a big part of Harvard Law School, said, it's you? And said, I thought so, but that was a decent imitation. But let me tell you something. I am Chinese American, and we don't sound like that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not a good first impression to make on a school that I would eventually attend and I wanted to go to. Not good. I really stopped that for like a few years. So now I have a British voice.
Oh my God.
Bring on. Yes, you have in fact reached Menaka Guruswamy's phone. May I help you? No, no, no. She's not here right now. She's actually away, litigating a big case, saving the world. Really, I'm like watching Netflix, or Amazon Prime, like some war movie. But anyway.
Menaka, if I could stand up and clap for you right now, I totally would, but I can't. So I'm just going to sit down and clap. This is really, really, definitely one of the funniest stories we've heard in a long time, haven't we, Vikas?
Oh, no. Did that persona have a name?
I have been told not to share any of this because since then, in the last 25 years, we now take the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, non-discrimination, ICCPR, all kinds of things much more seriously. I have been asked to lock this part of myself away.
Let's just keep it between us then.
All right.
Right. So onto a much more serious question. How do you define beauty?
Really, intelligence meets happiness.
Wow. Very different. How can someone gain your trust?
By being honest. And that's a good thing, especially clients who are, guilty. It's good. Be honest. That's fine.
Yeah.
To me only, and not the authorities. Me. Doesn't need to go.
All right. I think you could easily switch to it. You should be with, is it Kamal Kamra?
Look, I would have loved to. I envy him.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I envy him. I'm like, you make a living cracking jokes, and I have been told to tone it down.
Right. Dina, we're going to go over to you.
Here we go.
So at a party, where can someone find you?
On the balcony, sneaking a smoke.
Lovely. I'll bring you a drink.
With a drink, yes.
I'll bring the drink, yes.
What song would you say best sums you up?
You Are My Sunshine.
It's a great song.
If you had to describe yourself as an animal, which one would it be and why?
Really? You're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, really, like you can
okay. So
I can see them.
Yeah.
Tigers, yeah.
But why?
Oh, she's just the queen of the jungle. End of story.
Right. What's your favorite quote from TV show, movie, book, or something else?
I don't sort of really have one, but I have always remembered the Hippocratic Oath as something to live by. And that's what I try to follow as much as I can, which is do no harm.
Super. Tell us about a practical joke that you pulled off really well. If you didn't pull it off, one you tried anyway.
Menaka has just far more on me one day. I mean, I don't think I ever did a practical joke. I must have, but I can't readily remember. But there were always group things. So there were a lot of prank calls to unsuspecting people when we were younger. I mean, there were no cell phones. We didn't have all the distractions we do today. There was no TV actually. When we were, TV came much later. So our source of amusement was, I go out and play, which I think a lot of these kids today have lost, and go out and play a sport. Or the other instrument was the phone. So to ring up somebody and talk nonsense, or you know, by chance you'd get some person who answered you back, and that number was to be noted and, you know, played and milked for what it was worth. But I can't think of any particular incident. We used to have great fun doing that, you know, in that sense. But I can't think of anybody that I've pranked in that sense. Yeah.
Super. How do you define beauty?
I would, you know, obviously, I would go with what Menaka said, you know, honesty, just a, you know, a kind, good person, you know, it doesn't looks, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So I just say a good person. Yeah. Kind, honest. Yeah.
And how can someone gain your trust?
By being straightforward,
Yeah.
you know, which is, I guess, another way of saying honest, but just being straightforward, you know, don't give me a lot of BS around it. Just come straight, you know, to the point, be direct. I don't like all this sort of, you know, Chinese whispers going round and round, you know.
That's normally Menaka.
No, just be direct, you know, be direct. We, you know, Indians have a habit, I think, of, you know, thinking somebody may not like it, or trying to, you know, pussyfoot around things and not coming to the point. That drives me nuts. Just come to the point, you know. So yeah, be straightforward.
And now back to the
Menaka, I'm going to come back to you now. So what is something you get wrong almost every time that you do it?
Interesting. Isn't that like repetitive bad behavior? Isn't that like the definition of insanity? Yeah. No, so, you know, it's funny, but there's a park nearby in Delhi. And Dina, I don't know if you've been to it. It's called Sundar Nagar Biodiversity Park. It's beautiful. It's an eco-heritage park restored by the Aga Khan Foundation. It's stunning. There's water, there's peacocks, there's trees, you know, there's monuments. It's adjoining Humayun's tomb. It's beautiful. I love this place. This is my favorite place in Delhi, right? And every summer and every fall, I wake up and I look at the sky outside. And the odd days when, you know, I don't have a very early hearing, I'm like, it's cool enough to go to the park today. I will not sweat. I did that today as well, you know, so dragged off the better half, went off to the park. I always get it wrong. It is always hot from April to October in New Delhi. There is not one morning when it is not warm. And we go through this process, you know, and I'll be like, but it felt cool briefly when I stuck my head out. And now in this beautiful park, you're kind of taken in, you know, you had said, well, what is your definition of beauty? This is beautiful, right? It's stunning. And you sweat because Delhi has high heat plus humidity. It's a perfect combination. And it's something I get wrong all the time. I tell my unsuspecting, you know, colleagues sometimes, you know, if they want to have a chat, I said, man, it feels like a nice day. Maybe we should just go to the park for a walk and spend 40 minutes there doing 2 rounds around tombs of Humayun's cousins. And they're like, no, man. It's really, really hot. And the monsoons are 5 months away. So I'm like, okay. So this is like, it's a daily phenomenon or a weekly phenomenon, as the case may be.
Okay, fair. Okay, what's the funniest or weirdest text or email that you've ever received?
Oh.
Professionally.
Professionally. Oh my, there've been so many, but I, you know, like, you know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, I don't know if it would come to Dina quickly, but off the top of my head, I cannot think of anything.
Okay. Or you can even say personally if you like. I mean, if not
Personally, oh my, that brings it closer home. I'm probably the one sending inappropriate messages or texts. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, for the longest time, when I was in hostel in Bangalore, there was one phone for the whole girls' hostel. And, my parents would call. My mom and dad, especially my mom, would ask me the same question, which is, have you eaten enough? Do you have money? Are you sleeping okay? And so this would be like the standard conversation. Imagine this was before cell phones. There was just one telephone, in this little room, and somebody else would pick up the phone because, you were living in some other part. And so this was a conversation that everyone was familiar with. So, at one point, a classmate answered the phone and said, "Oh, hi, auntie. I'm just going to call her." And then call me saying, "Menaka, it's your mother. She wants to know if you've eaten enough, you've slept well, do you need anything, and do you have enough money?" So this was kind of like, and so by the time I bounded down, it was already like telecast. So it was just one of those moments where, it was lack of technology meets life in like the early 90s in India,
Nice. Okay. All right. What's something that makes people think that they're really cool, but in your view, they're looking ridiculous?
Oh, interesting. Oh my. It's not so much that I think we live a modern life today where kind of a display of wealth is really considered to be by a few maybe, or some, or whatever, to be cool, and it is what it is. Yeah.
All right. If you could steal one thing without consequences, what would you steal, Menaka?
Oh, the Mona Lisa.
Oh,
Yeah. I have a piece in my office, which there's one space reserved for it. I'm on it. I've like scoped out the Louvre, I'm really on it. It's only a matter of time.
I can tell because it didn't take time at all. This answer was...
Dina, I have the space picked out, it's like Dina has these 3-4 tigers and she's a tiger. I'm that friendly Labrador who's going to steal the Mona Lisa. Yeah.
Okay. And your last question, Menaka Guruswamy, what makes you go, what was I thinking when you look back on your life thus far?
I think, as younger human beings, as a younger human being, one did think, would any of this be possible? For so many reasons, right? For so many reasons. I am not the norm, in my profession. And I think to my younger self, and to, I think, younger people when I speak to them in colleges and, universities, and I do a fair amount of that. And the real reason why I do it is I want them to know, and I'd like your viewers to know, that if my story is possible, then their story is possible. And that is what I would tell my younger self as well.
That's really powerful. Thanks, Menaka. All right, Dina, over to you. What is something that you get almost always manage to get it wrong? What is that one thing?
So, like Menaka, to some extent, when we go to the jungles, especially, during the winter months, people don't realize that you are in the center of India, but it can be so freezingly cold in the morning. So that many layers, this jacket, you invariably pack something wrong every single time. So it's just somehow, I guess it's, both of us as wardrobe issues in a sense. But, I would just love to find that one universal jacket that I can take every single time. It's just, and I've got a cupboard full of them now, and so have my friends, with so much experimenting, this one, that one. So that's I just get it wrong every single time.
Okay, fair. What's the funniest or weirdest text or email you may have received, Deena?
I honestly can't think of it. I'm sure there must have been. I can find even serious ones ridiculous, so I don't know. But because sometimes what the client expects from you really want to laugh and say, easy off his rocker, anyway. So, so I can't think of anything offhand. Sorry.
No, don't worry. We can move on to the next question. What is something that people think makes them look very cool, but actually makes them absolutely ridiculous?
I don't know, sort of having everything of everything, sort of too much bling.
Yeah.
Wearing, what is seen to be the latest of fashion, which will be utterly mismatched. Guys wearing these very metrosexual colors, and 90% of them can't carry it off. They look stupid, So yeah. So it's really, not knowing, that understated is good. Yeah.
Okay. If you could steal one thing without consequences, what would you steal?
Steal. I don't really know. I don't have an answer like Menaka off the top of my head. But, it's
you haven't been planning your thieving activities.
I wish that somewhere else that I had. I don't have that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. And your last question, Deena, for this round. What makes you go, what was I thinking when you look back on your life thus far?
I don't really know whether I would say what was I thinking. I'd probably say that I've been very lucky. Things have panned out. I didn't think that, I didn't really have a clear sense of direction when much younger, of course, very young. Was everybody, you go through the usual, I want to be a doctor nonsense. But I just think things have, fallen into place. Serendipity has probably played, serendipity and luck have, played a very large part in my life. It's, I've had, my parents gave me, in that sense, the freedom to go in whichever direction. There was never, you must be this, or you must be that, or you must do this. So I think I feel that I kind of muddled along early, but I kind of found my feet. So I think I've been lucky, maybe myself would be that, you should be so lucky. So that's probably it. Yeah.
Super. Okay. Thank you, ladies. You all really answered the interrogation round very well and very meaningfully. So we appreciate it. Moving on to the last segment of this interview, we're going to talk about a memory each. It could be a thing or an incident that we'd request each of you to talk about a little bit, which sort of helps you, holds you in good stead in your professional journey. It's that thing or that conversation you go back to and draw strength from. So is there something maybe that, Menaka, would you like to go first, and then we can go back to Deena?
Yeah, as I, grew older and I started my own practice, every couple of weeks, every 2 weeks, I would have a drink with my senior, and if I went before 6 o'clock dinner, then it would be coffee or tea with snacks, because everyone knows I love food. And if I went around 6:30, then it would be, a glass of wine with snacks. On a more serious note, we did this for years, and I just drop by and we talk, something about a case that was worrying me, decisions to be made. We just talk about life, books, meaning, existence, music, just so many things. It was just such a well-read, well-rounded, thoughtful human being. And I think, even now when I'm at crossroads and professionally, I have to make a decision, or I have to think, I go back to that and try to kind of, because you feel, I think, till your senior is there, you feel professionally and often sometimes personally as well, that there is someone who you can discuss this and get insights and wisdom from. I think, for me, both professionally and personally, from the age I was 19 to a year and a half ago, those conversations with Ashok Desai are very much at the heart of how I navigate professional dilemmas today. And also, kind of like how I live my life personally, so I always go back to that. And I really miss, being able to get a drink with him or just call him and chat. And I always would call him saying, "Sir, it is me, your favorite junior." And he would always respond by saying, "Which one is that? Which one is that?" I once said to him, he had this garden and he had like birds in it, like, not real birds, but, sort of, and you kind of look at it and feel peace, I'm sure, when he was doing all these conferences. And I said, "So why don't you just have a line of your juniors' pictures? So every day when you have these conferences, even if we're not around, you can look at us." And he said, "Menaka, because the green is expected to bring me peace. Peace, not reflect on where I've gone wrong."
Oh my God. Nice. Wow, that's a wonderful share. And I'm sure there's a lot that he contributed to your life and to making you the professional and the person that you are, Menaka. And thank you for sharing that as a memory. I'm sure conversations are the most precious intangibles that we're left with, right? So thanks for bringing that up. Dina, over to you. How about you? Anything or a memory that you want to speak of?
Certainly, but just before I go into that, and Menaka has mentioned, Ashok Bhai, and he was a wonderful, warm character, and all of us, and I don't know whether you remember where he stayed in Bombay. It was a building called Ram Mahal at Churchgate. And in the earlier, he had a neighbor upstairs who used to keep a pet panther.
Oh my, I did not know this.
Yes, fellow called Mr. Barodawala, who kept a pet panther.
Wow.
And one of my old partners in my old firm, Little & Co., decided to go for a conference to Ashok Bhai and climb the stairs, and was met by this panther on a leash coming down. And he, of course, needless to say, he fled and came back to the office and sort of said it sounds better in Gujarati, but he said, "I had met a tiger or panther on the stairs." So then the others told him, "Don't talk nonsense, you're off your rocker." But that was, so there was a panther in Ashok Desai's in the building. Anyway, sorry to digress. But yes, so like Menaka, I don't have a particular thing, but what I think I treasure most and value deeply are the little notes. Some of them are notes, some of them are letters, and some of them are conversations that I have had with people who have worked with me over these last almost 40 years, and for whatever reason have decided to leave, go, move on, do something else, move to another city. And that sort of I've kept them. I keep every scrap of paper like this, and sometimes it manifests itself in these little animals which you see in my office picture behind me. They know that, I collect these and all that. So it comes, along with that. But I really, that really makes me feel, they're beautiful, wonderful notes and written from the heart. And it really makes me feel satisfied that, I have been able to mentor somebody, nurture somebody, leave them, with a good feeling about, the place that they worked with, the colleagues that they worked with, and, and that they are, ready to move on in life, and that, that I have sort of, it sounds a little cliche to say that I have sort of made a bit of a difference. So those I value, there's no other object or such, but I value those.
Again, intangibles. Super, Deena. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, ladies. This brings us to the end of this entire conversation. You both have been an absolute delight, and we're so grateful that you could bring your authentic selves and share as openly as you have. We're genuinely very thankful, and we've had a blast. Truly hope that you have too.
We have.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you very much. Great joy. Great to do this with Menaka. And Menaka, we will definitely, catch up.
Yes, we must. Dina, thank you so much for being in this conversation, because it really is, a great privilege to.
Great fun. It's fun.
To have this conversation with you. And thank you to UNSUITED, Tanisha, Vikas. It's been just a great Sunday evening.
Likewise. Enjoy the rest of it and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.